In a world increasingly dependent on digital infrastructure, cyber threats are hitting from all sides. Picture a scenario where a nation's power grid goes dark from a foreign hack, while false news floods social media to sow panic, and criminal ransomware paralyzes hospitals, all at the same time. This isn't a science fiction worst case, but a glimpse of today's reality. From government-sponsored hackers to rogue cybercriminal gangs, malicious actors are exploiting every vector in a fragile global landscape. The result is a multi-vector threat environment that is forcing countries, companies, and international bodies to rethink how they defend the digital realm. The stakes are high: economic stability, public safety, and even the balance of power among nations are on the line. This is the DEFCON warning system. If you find these articles helpful, please like and subscribe so that others may find them as well. What do we mean by multi-vector threats? In simple terms, it's the combination of different methods and actors in coordinated cyber offensives. A single campaign might blend hacking, disinformation, and even physical sabotage, multiple vectors, to maximize disruption. Security experts often refer to this as gray zone warfare. Covert operations, disinformation, subversion, sabotage, cyber attacks, and other methods that advance a state's objectives but stop short of open war. Unlike a traditional military attack, these assaults are murky and hard to attribute. They exploit the seams between peace and war, law enforcement and national security, state and non-state action. This new era is characterized by a blurred line between state and non-state threats. Geopolitical tensions are playing out in cyberspace in unprecedented ways. National intelligence agencies and military units are launching cyber operations for espionage or strategic advantage, while patriotic hackers, proxy groups, and cyber criminals often operate with tacit state approval or encouragement. At the same time, independent cybercriminal syndicates are wreaking havoc for profit, sometimes accidentally causing international incidents. These threats reinforce each other, creating a vastly more complex and dangerous security environment. In short, the world is witnessing an intertwined web of cyber aggression coming from many directions at once. Nation-states have rapidly moved cyber warfare to the forefront of their strategic toolkits. Government-sponsored hacking groups, often euphemistically called Advanced Persistent Threats, APTs, are responsible for some of the most brazen intrusions and sabotage campaigns seen in recent years. Unlike lone hackers, these state actors typically have significant resources and objectives tied to national agendas. Their targets are often geopolitical: government agencies, critical infrastructure, defense industries, and political processes of rival nations. One need only look at recent conflicts to see states' cyber playbooks in action. During the ongoing war in Ukraine, Russian cyber attacks have relentlessly targeted Ukraine's government services and critical infrastructure. Ukrainian cyber defense teams reported 4,315 cyber incidents in 2024, a nearly 70% jump from the previous year. Malicious software, phishing campaigns, and data-wiping attacks have aimed to destabilize Ukraine's society and support Moscow's military objectives. Cyberspace has emerged as one of the most intense fronts of the war, underscoring how digital assaults now accompany physical battles. Russian operatives have even combined cyber strikes with old-fashioned sabotage, blurring battle lines. As Britain's cyber spy chief warned, Moscow's intelligence services are now nurturing and inspiring non-state cyber actors, in some cases coordinating their cyber attacks with physical sabotage against Western targets. In other words, state agencies and shadowy proxy hackers are acting in concert, making cyber warfare a multi-layered threat. Russia is not alone. China has been identified as today's most active and persistent cyber adversary of Western nations. U.S. intelligence assessments note that Chinese state hackers have quietly penetrated critical infrastructure. For example, the Typhoon operation, pre-positioned access in U.S. power grids and communications networks. The worry is that if a major crisis broke out, Beijing could launch destructive cyber operations on critical utilities or military systems to induce societal panic and hinder its adversaries' ability to respond. China's goals range from stealing intellectual property and defense secrets to preparing for potential conflicts by inserting digital backdoors. Even seemingly benign technology can hide risks. In one case, rogue components in Chinese-made power equipment raised fears that an adversary could remotely bypass security controls. Other state actors further contribute to the volatile mix. Iran has engaged in aggressive cyber campaigns across the Middle East and beyond, from probing critical infrastructure in the West to waging cyber skirmishes with regional rivals. In late 2024, U.S. agencies warned that Iranian hackers were brute-forcing their way into sensitive networks and modifying security settings to maintain long-term access. Tehran's cyber playbook often involves retaliation and disruption, such as past attempts to meddle with foreign banking systems or knock out energy facilities. North Korea, though a smaller nation, punches above its weight in cyberspace. Pyongyang's state-sponsored units have infamously unleashed global malware outbreaks and brazenly stolen hundreds of millions of dollars via cyber theft, often to fund its nuclear ambitions. Recent reports show North Korean operatives even posing as IT freelancers to get hired at Western crypto companies, siphoning money and intelligence under false identities. North Korean hackers have also dabbled in ransomware attacks on hospitals and critical services, behavior that starts to resemble cybercriminal activity, blurring the lines between financially motivated crime and state espionage. Importantly, these state-led threats are not happening in isolation. In many cases, multiple state actors are active simultaneously, each with different motives, but collectively straining global cyber defenses. As of 2025, the U.S. intelligence community flags Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea together as top-tier cyber adversaries targeting critical infrastructure, industries, and government data. This convergence means defenders must worry about a spectrum of state-driven threats, from sophisticated espionage to potential acts of cyber war, emanating from different parts of the globe at the same time. Not all cyber threats wear a nation's uniform. In fact, many of the most disruptive cyber incidents in recent memory have been the work of non-state actors, especially organized cybercriminal groups. These are the ransomware gangs, financial fraud rings, and black hat hackers motivated by profit or anarchic thrill rather than politics. Yet, their actions can spark geopolitical tremors and jeopardize public safety, blurring into national security concerns. One stark example occurred in mid-2024, when ransomware criminals attacked one of the largest processors of U.S. healthcare transactions. The hack crippled electronic health record systems and pharmacy services across hospitals, delaying patient care and even forcing ambulances to divert from overloaded emergency rooms. Though the attackers were likely in it for ransom money, the real-world fallout was anything but petty crime. It was a national crisis. Similarly, in recent years, ransomware extortionists have hit oil pipelines, food suppliers, shipping companies, and city governments. The 2021 breach of a major U.S. fuel pipeline by a criminal gang led to gas shortages in several states, illustrating how a handful of hackers can create widespread economic disruption. These cybercrime collectives often operate from safe havens, exploiting jurisdictions with weak law enforcement or political indifference. Some groups, like the notorious Dark Side or Revel, function almost like cyber cartels, with sophisticated tools, customer service for victims, and multi-million-dollar profits. Their primary motive is profit, but their choice of targets, hospitals, power grids, water systems, means they can endanger lives and critical infrastructure. The U.S. Director of National Intelligence's 2025 threat assessment warned that financially motivated hackers continue to prey on inadequately defended targets such as healthcare systems and municipal networks. Attacks that could have a broad impact on the populace and economy if vital services are disrupted. In one noted incident, Criminal actors even hit multiple water utilities in late 2024, inspired by the publicity of earlier attempts by state-linked hackers to infiltrate water systems. The lines between vandals, thieves, and saboteurs are getting thin when the same ransomware that freezes your personal files is used against a city's power station controls. Adding another layer are the hacktivists and ideological hackers. These are non-state actors driven by political or social causes. Think of the collective anonymous or various pro-government patriotic hacker crews. While their technical skills and resources vary, hacktivists can still cause trouble, defacing websites or leaking data to embarrass their targets. Notably, during the Russia-Ukraine war, independent hacktivist groups from around the world joined the fray, some attacking Russian sites in support of Ukraine, others targeting Western organizations in retaliation. This phenomenon of volunteer cyber armies means that almost any conflict now has an online front where digital vigilantes take action. Their unpredictability can escalate conflicts or interfere with diplomatic efforts. Crucially, non-state actors don't operate in a vacuum. Often there's a wink and nod relationship with nation-states. Certain ransomware gangs based in Eastern Europe, for example, are left alone by their home governments as long as they only attack foreign victims, effectively turning a blind eye to crime that weakens other nations. There are also instances of suspected coordination. Intelligence agencies hiring or guiding criminal hackers for specific missions, or at least providing them safe harbor. This complicates any response. Is a ransomware attack purely criminal, or is it a state-tolerated or directed operation in disguise? As cybercrime and statecraft intermingle, every major cyber incident gets scrutinized for possible geopolitical underpinnings. In the face of escalating cyber onslaughts, governments and international bodies are racing to shore up defenses through new policies, regulations, and collaborative frameworks. These regulatory forces are reshaping how organizations approach cybersecurity, aiming to raise the baseline resilience of everything from power grids to personal data. The goal is clear: make it harder for attackers, state or criminal, to succeed and limit the fallout when they do. National cybersecurity strategies have taken center stage. Many countries have published updated cyber defense roadmaps in the past 2 years, often elevating cyber issues to the highest levels of national security planning. In the United States, for instance, the government's latest cybersecurity strategy calls for a whole-of-nation approach, meaning federal agencies, state, local governments, and the private sector must all work in unison to defend critical systems. This includes measures to hold software vendors to higher security standards, to reduce vulnerabilities in widely used technology, and efforts to disrupt ransomware gangs through international law enforcement cooperation. Cyber defense is no longer left to individual companies or IT departments. It's now a strategic priority discussed in the Situation Room. One significant area of regulation is mandatory reporting and standards for critical infrastructure operators. Both the US and the European Union have rolled out new rules requiring vital industries to up their cyber game. For example, the EU's NIS2 Directive, in force as of late 2024, compels a much wider range of essential sectors, from energy and transport to finance and health, to implement strict cybersecurity measures. NIS2 mandates things like timely incident reporting, better risk management for suppliers, access controls, and regular training. Top management can be held accountable, and even fined, if their organization fails to comply, putting real teeth behind these requirements. The idea is to ensure that a hospital or a power utility in any EU country meets a high security benchmark, so that hackers can't simply exploit the weakest link. Across the Atlantic, the US has passed the Cyber Incident Reporting for Critical Infrastructure Act, CIRCIA, which similarly will force key industries to report major cyber incidents within tight deadlines. Under this law, sectors like healthcare, transportation, water, energy, and communications must alert the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, of any significant breach within 72 hours, and any ransomware payment made within 24 hours. This rapid reporting aims to give authorities a jumpstart in mobilizing assistance and spotting broader attack campaigns. It's a turning point from the old days when companies might quietly handle hacks. Now, transparency and coordination are being required by law to improve collective defense. Beyond incident reporting, regulators are also pushing for better baseline safeguards. In the financial sector, for instance, the EU's Digital Operational Resilience Act, DORA, will require banks and financial services to regularly test their systems and have robust plans to stay operational if cyber attacks strike. And looking ahead, laws like the EU Cyber Resilience Act will compel manufacturers of smart devices and software to bake in security by design, e.g., maintaining an updated inventory of software components and fixing vulnerabilities promptly. Even emerging tech like artificial intelligence is coming under new rules, the EU's AI Act, to prevent malicious uses and ensure oversight, reflecting how broadly regulators view the cyber risk landscape. International cooperation is another critical piece of the defense puzzle. Cyber threats easily cross borders, so nations are forging alliances to respond. A prime example is NATO's enhanced focus on cyber defense. In 2024, NATO allies agreed to establish a new integrated cyber defense center to boost collective protection against sophisticated cyber threats. This center will unify how NATO monitors cyber threats, shares intelligence, and coordinates responses across member countries. By combining threat monitoring and information sharing under one roof, the alliance aims to react faster and more cohesively to attacks. It's a recognition that, much like an attack on one NATO nation's territory, is considered an attack on all. A major cyber assault on one ally could have ripple effects on everyone. Similar cooperation is happening in other forums too, from regional partnerships and intelligence sharing networks to global dialogues under the United Nations seeking to establish norms of responsible behavior in cyberspace. At the national level, many governments are also tightening cybersecurity regulations for businesses and public agencies. Countries have set up specialized cyber commands and incident response teams that work closely with industry. We see public-private partnerships where tech companies and governments share threat data in real time, for instance, to quickly take down botnets or issue alerts about vulnerabilities. In some cases, authorities are even reaching out to work with ethical hacker communities, through bug bounty programs and the like, to find and fix weaknesses before malicious actors do. All these regulatory and policy moves represent a shift from reactive to proactive defense. They acknowledge that cyber attacks are not a series of isolated incidents, but a persistent, multifaceted threat to society. By raising security standards, improving coordination, and clarifying roles and responsibilities, policymakers hope to make it harder for attackers to succeed and to limit damage when attacks occur. One of the trickiest aspects of today's cyber threat landscape is the way state and non-state actors intersect. It's increasingly common to find nation-states operating in the shadows through intermediaries, hiring or abetting criminals and hackers to do their bidding. This proxy approach gives states plausible deniability while still enabling them to hit targets they consider strategic. At the same time, some non-state actors have agendas that align with a country's interests, effectively making them unwitting allies. Consider the case of ransomware gangs. Intelligence reports have suggested that certain Russian-speaking ransomware groups benefit from a safe haven provided by Moscow, as long as they avoid targets within Russia or its allies. This unspoken arrangement allows the Kremlin to weaponize criminal hackers as a geopolitical tool. Western officials have accused Russia of leveraging this tactic to sow chaos abroad without directly bearing the blame. As one recent analysis put it, Russia's cyber ecosystem is a nesting doll, blending patriotic hackers, cyber criminals, private contractors, and state agents, all with shifting relationships. This murkiness makes attribution challenging. Was a particular hospital ransomware attack purely about ransom? Or was it encouraged by an adversarial state to undermine public trust? Sometimes the answer may be both. We've also seen states turning to contractors and front companies to carry out cyber ops. In 2022, for example, it was revealed that North Korean operatives set up fake companies in foreign countries to infiltrate the cryptocurrency industry. By posing as legitimate firms, they lured crypto developers and then infected them with malware, a crafty blend of espionage and crime that funneled profits back to Pyongyang's regime. Meanwhile, Iran has been known to use proxy groups and cyber militias to do its dirty work, from defacing foreign websites to breaching networks of adversaries. These cutouts give Tehran breathing room diplomatically, even as the attacks advance its goals. On the flip side, some non-state actors effectively act as volunteer soldiers in state conflicts. During the Ukraine war, groups of hacktivists, some organized via social media, launched attacks on Russian websites and infrastructure in solidarity with Ukraine's cause. Russia likewise benefited from a wave of pro-Kremlin hacktivism against Western targets. Government officials might publicly distance themselves from these vigilante hackers, but behind closed doors, they may quietly welcome the extra firepower. Officials in Western nations have voiced growing concern about the ties between intelligence services and such proxy groups, noting that what might start as independent activism can evolve into coordinated campaigns guided by state handlers. All of this blurs the traditional categories of threat actors. We can no longer cleanly separate government hacker from criminal or activist in many cases. For defenders, this means a multivector attack might involve an unpredictable mix of players. A breach of a power plant control system, for instance, could involve state-written malware delivered by criminal affiliates, or a state hacker exploiting a vulnerability identified by a criminal group. The motivations can shift mid-attack as well. A criminal might sell access to a victim network on the dark web, only for an espionage group to buy that access for intelligence gathering. The convergence of tactics is another facet of multivector threats. Cyber operations can be synchronized with traditional military or intelligence tactics. We have seen scenarios where a disruptive malware attack on communication systems coincides with a physical military maneuver, amplifying confusion. Or disinformation campaigns online, such as fake news stories and propaganda bots, run in parallel with hacking operations that steal and leak confidential emails, combining psychological and digital vectors to destabilize a target country's political environment. Security analysts warn that this hybrid warfare, pairing cyber with information warfare and even kinetic action, is likely to be a playbook for powerful states with global ambitions. It's essentially a form of multi-vector assault on a nation's stability, hitting its networks, its public opinion, and its critical services at once. As we navigate 2025 and beyond, it's evident that cyber defense is being reinvented to cope with the multi-vector threat reality. The world's digital interconnectedness, which brings so much convenience and economic benefit, also creates a fragile ecosystem where a shock in one domain can cascade widely. A simple lapse in cybersecurity at one company can become a national security incident if savvy attackers use it as a foothold to broader disruption. Conversely, a geopolitical conflict can spill over to affect ordinary businesses and citizens through cyber means, even thousands of miles away from the physical battlefield. The response unfolding is multifaceted. Nations are treating cybersecurity as integral to national defense, investing in stronger capabilities and forging alliances to deter adversaries. At the same time, they're enacting laws and regulations to compel better security practices across industries, essentially fortifying the digital walls of our critical infrastructure. Law enforcement and intelligence agencies are collaborating like never before to hunt down ransomware rings and spy on hostile hackers. In some instances, governments have even carried out preemptive cyber strikes or takedowns against criminal infrastructure, for example, seizing servers or decrypting stolen data to neutralize threats before they escalate. For businesses and regular citizens, these developments mean cybersecurity can no longer be an afterthought. The resilience of the digital society, from the power that lights our homes to the banks that safeguard our savings, is now a public concern, not just an IT issue. Encouragingly, awareness has grown. Exercises simulating cyber attacks are conducted to drill emergency responses. Critical sectors are sharing more information about threats and best practices. There's even a cultural shift. Rather than viewing cyber defense as solely a cost, organizations are beginning to see it as an investment in stability and trust. Yet, challenges remain. Attackers, whether state operatives or freelance criminals, are continually adapting, finding new vulnerabilities, and developing new tactics. The rise of artificial intelligence tools may further empower threat actors, enabling more sophisticated phishing or automated hacking at scale. And the global nature of the internet means any regulatory gaps, a country with lax laws or an unregulated crypto market, can be exploited as havens or backdoors. Ultimately, the battle against multi-vector cyber threats is a long game. There is no finish line where cyber risk drops to zero. Instead, success will look like a world where we have minimized the impact of attacks, where power grids, hospitals, and governments can withstand and quickly recover from cyber shocks, and where deterrence measures dissuade our adversaries from attempting the most catastrophic attacks in the first place. Achieving that will require steady, collective effort. As we've seen, state, non-state, and regulatory forces are all shaping the future of cyber defense, sometimes in contention, sometimes in cooperation. Navigating this complex reality without tipping into greater conflict is the challenge of our time. In this fragile world, maintaining robust cyber defenses is akin to reinforcing the foundations of a house built on ever-shifting ground. Through vigilance, smart policy, and international cooperation, we can strive to keep that house standing. The coming years will test just how well we can reinforce those digital foundations against the many vectors of threat converging on them. This is the DEFCON warning system.